Hi, so this is the presentation of my health portfolio. Obviously, the theme is it's all about me. So, I learned a lot over the course of this summer. So, this outlines some of the key takeaways that apply to me and I think are the most important that I could implement into my daily life. So, starting with the physical health unit, I felt a good grip on most of the aspects that we went over, like eating. Our family eats relatively healthy because, my mom cooks pretty much everything we eat. So we know about the My Plate and healthy eating and all of that stuff. As far as the physical fitness things that we went over, I had a pretty good grip on most of them. I think cardiovascular endurance, I'm pretty strong with. I do a lot of conditioning for tennis and a lot of running. I'm relatively flexible. The BMI stuff that we went over, I think I was pretty solid with. I think it was like a 22 or something. But the two facets that we went over that I think I could start to implement into my real life that I'm not doing very much right now are muscular strength and endurance. So I designed, a little rough outline of a fitness plan reflecting that. Um, I realized that muscular strength and endurance can be achieved in different ways. And after looking more into it, I found that heavyweight and low repetitions are good at developing strength, and muscular endurance can be achieved with lighter weight and more repetitions. So here's just a brief fitness plan that I put together that, obviously will change when I get to the gym and I see, what actually works, how much weight, what kind of exercises, what kind of weight. But muscular strength and endurance are definitely things that I can implement into my real life as a result of the physical health unit. And of course, I'll continue with my cardiovascular endurance, all the sprinting, the jogging, the tennis conditioning that I do, and continue eating healthy. But the physical health unit really did show me that there are some things as far as muscular strength and endurance that I can be doing and should be doing in my daily life. So moving on to the social health unit, part of the social health unit that was probably the most applicable to me most often was having healthy relationships. I've always loved being around people and having healthy relationships, but in the past, this is probably around, I'd say, early middle school. And before, I used to be a little bit of a people pleaser. I looked to make everyone happy a lot of the time. I was often afraid to use my voice and, give my own opinions for fear of ruining a positive situation. So, you know, I, I, I think I don't think, I know I've been working over the past couple of years to move toward that perfect contributor that I have in the middle of the Venn diagram. And, I think I'm pretty much there, but I love how this unit reminded me of that. Obviously, the opposite is the center or fixer, someone who's too blunt or honest to the point where the relationship is harmed and they try to control most of the situation. Just obviously, I don't think that was me growing up, but it always helps to have the opposite to put it in a point of view. But the perfect contributor that I've been working towards, for the past couple of years, and I think I have now, is someone who respectfully contributes their own opinions and personalities while being able to compromise. So for me, that means, you know, being able to voice my own opinions, using my sense of humor, having fun, doing all of that, really contributing something to the relationship as, one of the C's out of the seven we learned stands for, all while being respectful and not too controlling, which, was never really a problem for me. But I loved how this unit reminded me of the progress and what I should strive for when it comes to healthy relationships. So, the biggest takeaway I had from the mental health unit was stress and how we can alleviate it. This year obviously was a very good time, not a good time, a very prevalent time for stress to occur. As far as all the testing goes, with the SATs, the APs, the ACTs, the finals, the regions, the subject tests, and I had tennis season going on. I had a couple all-state auditions, so it was obviously a time where a lot of stress had the potential to seep in. But I've really never felt that much stress in my life, and this unit really got me to look into why that was so. And I think the biggest reason was that I used it as motivation. There was a study done by some Harvard psychologists that said the mere act of framing stress as a performance enhancer rather than something you hate can make all the difference. And I think the attitude and sense of control to ensure most stress is eustress that we learned about during the unit really stood out to me as stuff that I have been doing before and stuff that I should be continuing in my daily life. Of course, there are times where we just take a break from stress altogether. I have my hobbies as music, sports, hanging out with friends, things that I can do for relaxation. But the biggest takeaway I had from the mental health unit that I can implement into my daily life was how to use my attitude and my sense of control to really transform stress into a positive thing. When learning about drugs in the intellectual health unit, my biggest takeaway was that I actually needed to learn more. Of course, I'd never do them, and I definitely know not to, but of course, the phone is gonna ring now. Of course, I'd never do them, and I know not to, but I didn't really know much more than that. So I found out that, tweens, teens, and young adults who know the facts about drugs are much less likely to start using them. And, for me, besides being discouraged from using them, which I already am, I think the most important takeaway from that is just being educated to know, how these things work, what they do, where they're found, what they can be mistaken for, especially realizing with, the vaping and the drugs that I see around me sometimes in school and in life, it's pretty good. It would be very good for me to know as much as possible. And, we went over a good part of it, a brief overview during the unit, but the biggest takeaway I have from that I can implement into my daily life is just to learn more, learn as much as possible so that I can be prepared for anything. And finally, what I took from the consumer and environmental health unit was basically just a bunch of little things that I didn't really know before to help me be a better consumer and environmentalist. So, as far as the consumer side goes, reading the fine print, being wary of tactics such as the limited time offers or the satisfaction guarantees, and just making sure I'm getting a fair and good price and knowing my rights. Those were pretty important as I think, our family consumes a lot of things. We do a lot of shopping, and I think we know a lot about the scams and all of that, but it was good to have a nice little review. But as far as the environmental side, learning from the unit and doing some of the research on my own for forums and stuff like that, there were a bunch of little things that I found, pretty fascinating that I could implement into my daily life to become a more, efficient person and help the environment. So things like avoiding charging things overnight, buying less harmful products, avoiding plastic straws, and a big one for me, not leaving lights on, the shower on, or the sink on for too long. I can confirm I'm very guilty of that. But, here are some of the things that, I learned that I could implement into my real life as far as consumer and environmental information goes. So here are my references. And, this project I actually found extremely helpful in putting this course in perspective and figuring out, what I can actually take from, the stuff that I did this summer. So I'd actually, really like to thank you for making us do this, because I probably would have just disregarded the stuff that I learned in this course if I didn't have to do this, but it really put the stuff I learned into perspective and how I can actually, become a much better person based on the work that I did this summer. So thanks.